Welcome to Honest Whispers Preview to Sale. On this video I'll be previewing Final Fantasy VII Advent Children #1 TIFA LOCKHART Play Arts Action Figure. It was released by Square Enix Products back in August 11, 2005. This figure is approximately 7 inches tall. And I'm going to go over 6 different categories to review this. First category is design, which basically covers the look, the concept, and the points of articulations. And this figure actually has over 20 points of articulations, which pretty much allows you to do a lot of different poses. I can't say you could do pretty much any pose, but especially with the display stand and the brace that it comes with, you could even probably do aerobatic poses. So that's a huge plus. And when you look at the figure, I mean, it has so much details. It looks amazing, and best of all, concept wise, it looks exactly the way it does as she does from the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Of course, she comes with closed gloved fists, just like in the movie, and then she also comes with these open-handed, gloveless open hands. So it gives you, again, a lot of options to do different types of poses. And it's basically like 3D come to life, 3D art come to life. So I give the design score a perfect 10 out of 10. Next category is sculpting, which basically covers the details, the execution, and the quality of the molding. And when you look at the details, everything from the hair, the strands, the face is almost perfectly sculpted. Everything from the jawline, nose, lips, everything sharp. You don't get any weird, crooked, everything symmetric. Her outfit is amazing, and it just so much details to that as well. You could see the stitching, the stitch lines, the buttons, the realistic wrinkles, just the way the clothing or the fabric folds. And even her shoes. She has these little ribbons on, and then if you look really closer, there's like these, I mean, they look like rivets, so it looks like little buttons or whatever on the side where the laces should be, or the lace holes should be. So amazing details. Even the quality of the molding, I mean, if there's anything to complain, when I was looking at it closely, the shoulders look a little bit rough. They're not like perfectly smooth. I don't know if I could get a better lighting to capture it. So again, it's something you have to look really closely at. So rather than perfectly smooth skin like where her forearm is, it gets a little rough, almost like Velveeta cheese looking. And if I had any other complaint to it, the open hand. It might be hard to tell from the camera, but her open hands proportionately just seems a little bit bigger than it should be, especially when I kind of compare it with her closed fists. And also when you start looking at the fingers really closely, they don't really narrow down on the fingertips as I would like to see it, and even the pointer finger looks thicker than the middle finger. And the closer you look at it, it starts looking like fat sausages. So, I mean, that would probably look a lot better when you attach them to her. But just something I wanted to point out. And also on her knuckles, you could see a line going straight across. So that's probably like the seam line from the molding. So due to that, I mean, that's just really, I mean, you'd really have to look closely at it at a pretty good distance. Really can't tell. And it does look pretty close to perfect. But still, due to those minor little errors or flaws, I give the sculpting score a near perfect 9 out of 10. Next category is colors. Basically covers the accuracy of the coloring, the quality of the painting, and the quality of the paint application. And you can see her eyes, lips, everything perfectly done. Sharp lines, no bleeding. There's probably some imprinting done, especially with the pupils. But when you look at closer, I mean, her costume's pretty simple, but when you look at close details like her zipper, I mean, it's perfectly painted. I don't see any flaws at all. And if I could show you a better angle on, for instance, the shoes. You see those little white lines all around the edges and everywhere. I mean, they are consistently, well, not just straight, but then like they're very sharp, and the thickness is very consistent. So you don't see any line narrowing down or getting thicker here or there, or either the line breaking. So very consistent, very nicely done. Even though most of her, I mean, she's been molded separately and assembled. For instance, like the pink ribbon, that would have been a separately molded part. But it really adds to the quality of the coloring. So you get the nice borders and everything without any bleeding into them. And it's a clever way for them to cover the seam line. Because on the right arm you could actually see the seam line. But the ribbon on the left arm, it's just well done. Everything's well thought out. So that's why the colors, I give it a perfect 10 out of 10. Next category is packaging, which basically look at the design, the quality. And this is basically a window box packaging. You get 4 windows, one of course in the front, and then you get the top and then the 2 sides. So you could pretty much see almost all of the figure except for the back. And I usually like this because this, you could check out the quality of the figure and then pick out the best one. Now it does have a little flap for the hanging, for stores to hang. And for me, when you look at this, this is basically a hybrid type of packaging. Basically, it's a box and kind of like a blister card packaging, because when you look at the format of a blister card package, this is basically what it looks like. So for me, if I had any complaints, I would probably have the little flap cut off and just make it a box. Because one of the reasons too is because this flap tends to get in the way. It's hard to store it, and a lot of times it's hard to find one that's not damaged. So you might get something slightly creased like this, or completely folded, or the flap might be where it might start a rip or something. Now otherwise, the design of the box looks great. It's very consistent with all the other characters in the same line, same logo, same window box cut design. The way it's not just a typical rectangle. I mean, it kind of cuts out into the where the logo is. It kind of has a trapezoid area cut out. So if you have Sephiroth or Vince, then basically, or Vincent, and basically they'll have the same box, same consistent design, logo. So that's definitely something I like about it. Well thought out as well. So for the packaging, I give it a near perfect 9 out of 10. Next category is value, which basically covers the suggested retail price versus the quality, and suggested retail price versus the aftermarket. And for this, originally when it came out, it was roughly around like $12.99 to $14.99 depending where you bought it. And right now, one of the lowest I've seen that's listed is around like $60 with shipping included. I listed this at $65, and I actually have a customer that's interested in buying this for $50. So pretty good value on the aftermarket value compared to the original cost. And whether you bought it for the original cost at around $15 or if you buy it for $60, I'll tell you right now is that with inflation, any action figure right now that's gonna come out is gonna be roughly around $50 to $75. And quality wise, this is definitely up there. So if you can still, I mean, if you really like this character or any of the other characters from the Final Fantasy line, or if you just like other characters from the Play Arts action figure line by Square Enix, definitely worth it. TIFA LOCKHART, especially with her, one of the more popular characters, so high demand for her, especially in the Final Fantasy VII or the Final Fantasy world. So definitely I could see her continue to climb in value. I can easily see this maybe close to 100 or over 10 more years from now as it gets more rare. So value, I give the score a perfect 10 out of 10. Which finally is the overall category, and that accumulates to 5 prior categories: design, sculpting, colors, packaging, and value. And for me, TIFA LOCKHART is probably my favorite Final Fantasy character, and also Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. So that has a personal plus to it. But beyond that, as I mentioned, the details on this, the execution, everything's done perfectly. She really looks cool. Just has like those I don't want to call it tennis shoes, but just the way she has the athletic shoes with shorts rather than her original mini skirt. That actually has a nice touch, look to it. Kind of gives it a cyberpunk vibe as well. Yeah, I like the colors. The black really goes well with it, and the pink ribbon, the only color that's other than black or white, outside of black or white, and maybe the silver if you count that on the zipper, is pink, and that just kind of stands out. Really well thought out, really well done. Overall, I give it a near perfect 9 out of 10. So to recap, design 10 out of 10, Sculpting, 9 out of 10. Colors, 10 out of 10. Packaging, 9 out of 10. Value, 10 out of 10. And overall, 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time. If you haven't seen Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, I recommend you watch it. Definitely very high quality CGI and very cool, unique action.